the same time to a nice short course, right? So we would have said official good morning again. And what I was saying, the recording, I did them. I think I sent them to you all individually. So I could like today we started the second PowerPoint. By next week we may finish the course, and we'll take it from there anyway, right? But we have to start, right? And so um the truth is I don't want to review because you have the recording. The most I'll say is because there was a lot. I mean, to review 1.5 means that we wasting the time then. But if you have the recording, you could go forward and not go back too much, right? So we can just say sustainable development is a very famous topic, and I mean there were so many famous topics that we came across. Sustainable development is all about protecting, not really protecting first, but it's developing your country to meet your needs and that of future generation. And really sustainable development may have three facets to it. Sustainable development may be economic growth. Yeah, that's a part of sustainable development. The country wants to develop, right? So economic growth, social progress. So social progress talks about the citizens then, like the people benefiting from the progress, right? And last but not least, because this is an environmental course, uh, sustainable development means that yes, your country has to develop. Yes, the people have to develop, right? Training programs and opportunities and stuff. But there must be a focus on protecting the environment as well, right? The environment um, should not be sacrificed. And I say this cautiously because most of the times the environment is sacrificed. For example, the exploration for oil and gas, all right, the development of our country. So the environment is sometimes sacrificed. However, it needs to be like recompensated, right? So if you are tapping into a waterway, it needs to be recompensated then, right? Like there need to be some sort of environmental project, right? And so there have been many countries, remember Trinidad have been in the oil and gas business for some years, and there have been development, which you cannot stop because development is a part of sustainable development then, right? So people need to eat then, people need to develop, countries need to progress. But there have been instances where waterways have been, filled over. There have been beaches in Trinidad here that have been well, I want to say possibly re-engineered, right? So there have been beaches and there have been famous ones on the island here that have been re-engineered to be somewhere else. I know that sounds strange, right? So certain companies would have used the beachfront, but then what they did, they would have cleared um if you want to call it like vegetated areas there to make a new beachfront, right? So sometimes that is the price of progress, right? The price of progress is that plants have to be set up, waterways are crucial to development. But if a waterway then is being used, then like a new one needs to be developed, and a new one, a new beach, a new dam, a new creek, right, needs to be developed. And that's how sustainable development goes, right? So countries will develop doesn't matter what we see. Once there's oil and gas, there would be exploitation. And so there's no way of dreaming up then that they would not drill or that they would not tap into a natural resource. But if you tap into it, what a lot of countries are doing, they are re-engineering other places then, right? So there's like a famous beach in Trinidad known as Clifton Hill. Um, but it's not a beach anymore, right? It has been re-engineered. So that part of the beach went into like a companies for Atlantic LNG, a huge gas company on the island here, right? But what that company did, they made another beachfront, right? They cleared forested area where the sea would come up and they made it into a better beach. So there's no way of saying that a company should not tap into a waterway or tap into development. But I think if they are, that we have to say that there must be environmental like reforestated programs or re-engineering of beaches and whatever have you, or waterways, so that it will still be around for personal enjoyment for generations to come anyway, right? So that's the best way to say that. I don't know if you all, and saying that there was an exam question there, which is sustainable development looks at three things, which is economic growth, if you read through this, you'll see it, social development, and the protection of the environment, right? And like I said, it's no use dreaming up that they will not tap into the oil and gas. But if they tap into it, there must be some sort of environmental initiative then to sort of do something back for the environment, right? And that's the best we could hope for. And maybe hope that the planet has a way, the earth has a way, right? The earth has a way of gaining back what was taken from it, right? I mean, history has proven that anyway. I don't know if you all know that, right? The earth, the beach, the sea, land has a way of taking back what man has put on it anyway, right? So let's move on. So being competitive, organizations, and this is what we left it last week, organizations can pursue a sustainable development path which can make them more competitive and bring significant commercial advantages. They can benefit from lower operating costs, better access to markets, especially if you say you're an environmentally sensitive company in this day and age, enhance reputation and improve sales with customers. Let's see an example here. This one is a bit small. I'll try to bring it up here. Try to bring it a bit bigger, right? So I'll just read this. B&Q is the largest home improvement retailer in the UK with around 350 stores and a 3 to 4 billion pound per year turnover. That's a lot of money, right? In the early 1990s, B&Q was targeted by pressure groups on a national newspaper campaign. The company was accused of being connected with the destruction of tropical rainforests through selling products such as garden furniture, which is like furniture then, right? And front doors that were made of tropical hardwood. Well, nothing is wrong with that, right? But the thing is, if you are doing it in an indiscriminate manner, right? I mean, they will sell doors are made out of wood anyway, so but it's all about taking care of where you get the source material from them, right? At the time, B&Q had no answers to these concerns, but they did realize that their customers cared about forest destruction and that they need to take action. That was the start of a 20-year journey to find out exactly where their timber was coming from and to ensure that it was all reasonably sourced from well-managed forests. Along the way, B&Q became a founding partner of the FSC, the Forest Stewardship Council, the first organization in the world to provide a credible scheme for certifying suppliers of well-managed sustainable timber, right? At the outset, many people doubted that the company could meet its ambitious target to only supply reasonably sourced wood, while at the same time maintaining competitive prices. B&Q has proved the doubters wrong. The company has enhanced its reputation by making a major contribution to forest protection. It has also maintained its number one position in the UK. I'll say UK there, the UK market, right? Um, how much of that is true? I'm not sure. I'm just reading the information. I mean, it seems to suggest that this large furniture company is now getting all of its source material from well-managed forests or real forested areas. Who's to say otherwise, right? But
Sir, can I say something on that?
sure, yeah,
So the UK import timber from Guyana, and one of the requirements with the EU, they had to
yeah,
get a sustainable way how they harvest their timber. And with that said, the Guyana Forestry Commission, they had to lobby and ensure that the loggers have a certain license to
right,
timber and certain regulations they have to use when felling a tree in the
yeah,
forest. And they have to leave it measurements, these different criteria they have to use. so
Yeah.
that when the forestry wardeners go into the area, that they log the area, then they would see that the workers have a tag and the tree is marked, properly labeled as was issued through the Forestry Commission. In that way, they are allowed to export to the UK market.
Yeah, yeah. Very good. Thanks for the information. I was just thinking when I paused there as to which country was doing this. I did suspect it to be Guyana because I'm not aware of any mass initiative in any other Caribbean island anyway, right? I know about Grenada and Barbados and stuff. Not even Trinidad is doing this on a big level, but I suppose Guyana. I suppose other places where I could think about like Nigeria, so because the UK imports a lot of stuff from Nigeria as well, right? So yeah, that's the idea. That's the idea that they are doing this. Like I said, you cannot stop the demand for, like timber. A lot of people like, certain types of, rainforest trees and whatever have you, right? And for like housing finishes then, right? And you can't stop it. But the idea is the same, is a sustainable development ensures that it's done in a way where at least there's some reforestation programs. I know also India is very big in terms of exports to the UK. And I know the UK market, they would ensure certain licenses are in place and they would ensure that certain things are done. So thanks for the hands-on information. I remember that for just to mention Guyana is one of those places that is on the exporting list to the UK anyway. Right? So being competitive, so sustainable purchasing organization can make a difference through purchasing choices. Energy conservation helps the environment while saving money. Organizations can demonstrate saving and benefits across a range of factors such as costs, reduce waste, and improve resource efficiency, the security of your supply, right? And this is another example here. The use phase of a washing machine accounts for over 95% of the energy consumed during its life cycle. Who pays for this energy? You do, of course. So it makes sense to pay a little more for a model that is more energy efficient. You could save a lot of money in the long run. The environment could benefit too in terms of conserving fuel resources and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. The same argument applies to cars and most other energy intensive equipment. So yes, remember a lot of equipment, a lot of household appliances today come with an energy save function. They may be, you see an energy save sticker on it, they may be a bit more, but again, they would save you. And again, it may be, in the long run, saving the environment as well. Um, which best describes the benefits to an organization of pursuing a sound, sustainable strategy? We have A, being able to buy goods more cheaply from developing countries, paying less taxes, enhancing their reputation with environmentally and socially aware customers, reducing their employment costs, right? So, of course, the best answer here is which one? The best
See?
one there, C, right? Okay, good. So remember, just for those who may be joining in, and if you, I mean, it's such a short course. Now, we used to do this one day, right? I think I maybe I was just saying to you, like when I was in Guyana, I did a lot of meetings. I met with a lot of companies, right? Right? And I may be coming back because it seemed to have an environmental sort of demand in Guyana. But the long and short is that we used to do this in one half day. I mean, like half day, right? We would start today's Sunday. We do this on a Sunday, so like half eight. We give a break in between, but by half 12, we'll be finished with the whole course. But because it's on Zoom now, it's like an hour and a half, so it takes us about 3 sessions anyway, right? So I say all of that to tell you that remember there is an exam at the end of this. It's done in the NEBOSH platform. It is the same monitored software that monitors you, right? I know some people had some issues with that where internet is concerned and stuff, but hopefully everything works well. If anything should go wrong in terms of internet access, I don't NEBOSH has given students like a free reset. A lot of students in Trinidad here, we had some students who had some issues with the process safety access on the day of the exam, and they were given a free reset anyway. But Um, that may also be, I mean, I don't want to talk out of turn because NEBOSH is NEBOSH by itself, but I know they were doing some changes to the process safety. However, the environment, this environmental awareness course doesn't have any changes to it. So I don't foresee any issues. The exam for this is well, we will set when we finish our apply for it, right? So I'll have to kind of gauge, but it may be the end of August. Instead is July. Exam is the end of every month, but we wouldn't finish next week. We may finish next week, right? And then next week is the third week in July. So it doesn't make sense rush it for the week we finish that. It may make sense to finish it and then book the exam at the end of August. And you would have half an hour to do 30, no, sorry, half an hour to do 20 questions, right? Half hour. I wrote it on the screen last week. So if you want, you could go back and watch the video, right? If not, you could write it down. So 30 minutes when you log in. From the time they say start then and you have 20 questions to do, you have to get 14 correct. I think is it 14 or am I checking the maths wrong? I think you have to get 12 correct. Let me just check it here. What I sometimes
I think you said 14 last week. You wrote
yeah,
we
but
have to
just
get
now I don't think it's 14. It's supposed to be 60%. So it should be 12. You're supposed to get 12 correct. If you get 12 correct, you pass, right? So 12 over 20 will give you 60%. 60% is the pass mark. Anyway, so back to this. The point is the questions are not very hard. Just take your time with them. Um, I do have some exam papers that if you all want, I would have to track them down and I would scan them and send them for you anyway, right? So like the thing is though, like those exam papers are kind of before the pandemic, but at the same time, they are still good questions anyway, right? So tomorrow I could try to, I don't have to track them down that long. I know where they are. I just have to scan them. I don't have soft copies of them anymore. Um, I've changed laptops and stuff, and I'm not sure what happened to those folders, but I have the hard copies at the office. I may have about two or three papers. They kind of cycle back the same questions, or at least some good repeat questions out of that. And we can probably start looking at them. Even if we finish next week, which I doubt, we may have half again to go, but the other week then may just have half of a lesson, and then we can stress on some past papers anyway. Plus, you can do those past papers at home and just send them to me. I would correct them or put in the correction for you, right? Once you get them done anyway, right? Good. So let's go again. Let's go again and try to wrap this one up, right? So which best describes, I think we did this last weekend. Which best describes sustainable development? Um, ensuring all our needs and wants are met, providing it leaves something for the future, making sure we can provide everything the current population needs, equitably meeting developmental and environmental needs of present and future generation, stopping any activity now that harms the environment. So the best answer for this one is again what?
see.
C. Okay, good, right? So I wish I could get these certificates myself, but I am the one that have the license. So how NEBOSH works is that like I am the one that brought this to the region. The year was 2014, I brought this course to the region, right? But seeing that I have the license, then I cannot do the course. But these are such nice courses. Like back in my day then, right? NEBOSH never had environmental courses and stuff, but they have them and I've brought them. But I wish I could do that. Maybe one day when I retire, I would I would get a chance to do these courses myself and have like my name on these certs. I don't have it. I have my name on the license, but I don't have the name. I can't do it. Like if you hold a license, you can't do the qualification and because you have the license for the course, right? So it's weird, but I do like them. They are such a easy going course, including process safety. I brought that in Trinidad and well in the region now. I brought that in 2017. And we were the first place to offer NEBOSH process safety outside of the UK. But having the license too, I cannot do the qualification. So I do admire you in some way that you have it But at the same time, it is what it is. You can't have both. You have to have the license. Once you hold the license, you can't do the course yourself then because it's like a conflict of interest then, right? Because you know what going on behind the scenes then. All right, the last thing for this chapter, chapter one, sustainable purchasing. So an environmental management system is a formal program for managing environmental objectives. Environmental management systems have been developed to help organizations manage their environmental issues systematically. The environmental management system set out in the international ISO 14001 standard is now the most widely accepted. Yes, so the course does touch that a bit. The environmental management model is based on the idea of plan, do, check, and act. Like you identify what is your environmental goal. Like I can make up one. The environmental goal would be like a simple one, maybe like to have no environmental spills. You take action, right? Say implement a plan. You implement as you plan, do check. I say implement a plan to have no environmental spills, right? So if it's a tank, if it's a vessel, you may have like a bonded area. If it's a vessel, you may take precautions that the holding units on that vessel is of good integrity. They have level gauges on them. There may be alarms on them that give a warning if it's going to overflow, right? You can audit your system, do a check on your tanks, do a check on your vessels, do a check on your procedures. And if there's anything for improvement, you review and then you identify like a new goal again. Um, I can't seem to put my hands on my textbook though, and I had so much of it yesterday, right? It's such a small book. I wonder if I took it, probably took it to the other room, right? But if you have your book, I know like last week I read from it too now, but it's not on the desk yet. Maybe took it to the other room, right? As I'm home, and actually my computer keys is actually in the other room, so it may be in the right. But if you have your book, please, please, please try to look at it. They have a nice breakdown of the 14,001, something that looks just like this,
Yeah, it's on page 22.
right? So 22. I think it looks like this, right? I think it's this, but let me try to bring this a bit bigger. I didn't know I was leaving the office
22 and
yesterday.
23.
Okay, good. As the video office yesterday, and I seen I needed to. I have so much books, right? I have so much of the books and the desk at the office, but I figure it's in my computer case, right? So it's like why I said that for is because next thing they ask you something on the ISO model, right? So the ISO model, remember this is a memory-based exam, right? It's not an open book exam. They may ask like well, I'm not too sure what it asks. What I'm trying to say, I think you should learn the elements of the ISO model, like policy, planning,
Mhm.
implementing an operation, check-in, right? And there used to be an acronym to remember it, right? Check-in. Oh, what did I do? I went too big there with it. Let me get this back down. Right. So check-in and management review, right? So I think you should remember it. I think you should commit it to memory because um like they could ask, like, I mean, like they could ask where does setting the goals for the environment fall, right? So define an environmental policy, right? Of course, that should be easy. This should set out the organization priorities and reflect top management commitment to improve and to achieve legal compliance. So suppose they give a statement like that, where does setting a goal for the environment fall? That falls within planning, right? It shouldn't be too hard to figure out, right? It falls within, well, not sorry, planning, it falls within policy, right? But because there's multiple choice and you can never tell if they ask like a kind of match up, right? Like to match certain things, like where does monitoring the performance fall? Some of these are easy, that falls under check-in, right? PPOC. I think the acronym we used to be PPO was PPO, right? PPO. Yeah, we used to say O, right? But it was operation and implementation. PPOCM, right? If you want to remember the elements of ISO 14001. PPO. PPO is like short for process plant, process plant operator, but you can use the same acronym, PPO, CM. Of course, if you're a wrestling fan, you may know who CM Punk is, So that may be a good way of remembering the elements of ISO, right? Because it's a memory-based exam, I'm just saying, suppose they give you like they say the elements of ISO 14001 is, and then they have policy, planning, operation, but then they have a weird thing then. They have communication, and then they have uh what's another thing with M? They have money. Now that is still PPOCM, but it's not the correct elements, right? So because it's multiple choice, you should be aware that this could be a question to ask or to find out. Or even they can even ask three. They say like which of the following describes the elements of ISO 14001. So you should at least know the elements PPOCM then, right? So if they say policy, planning, operation and implementation, fine. But then they could switch it then. They could switch the letters and the first P can be, like trying to make up a word, pollution, right? I think you get the idea, right? Pollution, planning, and then they have operation and implementation. Well, pollution is wrong, right? So that's why, because it's a memory-based exam, it may be best to kind of commit to memory the elements of ISO 14001 anyway, right? So moving on. Let me just bring this back down to the normal view anyway, right? So certification, so maintaining an EMS that conforms to ISO 14001 means it can be independently audited by an accredited certification body. Organizations seeking certification for the first time generally go through a two-stage audit approach. And this is for everything really. I mean, like for all auditing, you go through that approach anyway. So the stage one is based on a lot of documents, right? So like if you don't understand it, it's like you have to produce, if you want your company to be ISO 14001 certified, you have to create your environmental policy. Now we do that for companies. I do consulting, as you all know, I do this for companies. You go in and you plan all of the risk assessments, all of the things that pertain to the environment, how you're going to control noise, flooding, spills, right? All of those things, right? You implement, you operate, you go through like series of checks, mini audits, internal audits, inspections of the environment. You produce reports, and all of those things go towards your document review. The second thing is that once you submit that, you'll have to pay a fee, of course, to the certifying bodies. Stage two audit, the environmental procedures are more extensively sampled. Organizations that pass are awarded certification for 3 years. Now, I don't know if Anne knows him. I do have a good friend of mine, student, right? So remember, I know them on a professional level, right? He is one of those persons that have the rights in the region. Trying to pull him up here. He's one of the persons who have the rights in the region to do these courses, right? Like if you want to do, like um the lead auditor courses, he's one of those persons that have the rights to do it, right? So in Trinidad and Tobago, I'm not too sure for Guyana, we have two entities, right? Like how I am NEBOSH. He was one of my lecturers in it, right? And so when I tell you he's good professionally, I don't know anything about him personally. I know when he worked for me, I never had a complaint with him. I know I could leave a class in his hands. I know his pass rates was high. I know about him from the local auditing bodies we have in Trinidad. I know he's very good. And I could put my block on the head for him professionally. I have no issues with him, right? And so there are some lecturers, like when you put a lecturer in a class, those of us who know, sometimes you put a lecturer in a class and the students don't like them, right? The students actually would run away from that class, right? Because they don't like the lecturer. But he was very good. His name is Harry Das, if anybody knows him. And he sent me this Friday. If you all want, I could send it for you. You can make contact with him. I have nothing to do with this. I am just telling you that this is somebody I know. In Trinidad and Tobago, we have two entities that have the rights to do auditing for the environment. One is an entity called CIQ, but he is much cheaper than them, right? In other words, then he is a lecturer. He is a trainer. He may not be all about the money, but he has the licenses. If you all want, I can show you here and you could be. get in contact with him. If you'll ever call him for your company, you can let me know and let him know that I sent you, because just let him know Shadrach, so he know it's a good person, right? That's the name of his company there. He is actually in and out of Guyana as well. That's the price. That's a very good price because these things are way much more than that if you do the conversion, right? So this is ISO 45001 lead auditor. This is not the environment, but you can call him. He has all of the ISOs, right? So this one is for safety. He has all the ISO accreditation to offer the courses then, right? So he has 45,001, he has 9,001, and he has 14,001, right? So you can call him up,
Shadrach,
see if he
I've
have,
already done all three of those.
yeah.
I've did all three of those
Oh, very good.
through
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. So yeah, if it's you could also keep it in mind, keep him in mind if you know anybody, any other company wants to get it done. He's good. I have made contact through the new guy in a school for him and for him to offer it through the new guy in a school. In fact, when I was there in November, we actually had to do a conference together. So I was NEBOSH and he was the ISO guy anyway, right? So great. But again, like I said, if anyone is looking at the ISO standards, he's one of those persons. You could check out his price, check out some other prices. If you like it, you like it. But I know he's cheaper, right? I could put my head on the block without his concern. I know he's cheaper, right, than the other entity we have in Trinidad. Maybe there are some in Guyana, I'm not sure. But I do know a lot of Trinidadians are the ones in Guyana, or Trinidad firms then are the ones that are doing the ISO training anyway, right? So getting back to this, just on the side here, so yeah, so there's a fee to pay. You all see all of that, the accreditation fee and stuff like that. A certified EMS need constant maintenance. Internal audits should be taken at planned intervals, right? So new activities may involve different environmental impacts. We're going to look at that just now. These must examine, or these must examine, or must be examined to determine whether any changes should be made to the environmental management system. Maintaining the EMS, certain individuals would have designated roles to maintain. If you want to know what maintaining is all of this. You have to maintain that then. So even if you get the license, you have to maintain, you have to keep on doing the inspections, keep on taking care of the environment, keep on updating your risk assessment, keep on doing environmental audits, right? Mini audits then, right? So certain individuals have specially designated roles. Most of the times the safety also does this. The health and safety person also does the environmental part of it. So management representatives may be responsible for coordinating environmental management system maintenance. Again, when they say environmental system maintenance, it may be updating your policy, reviewing your environmental risk assessments, reviewing, like your recycling records, where's your waste going. So that's what they mean by maintenance. Top management to lead regular reviews of the environmental management system performance. Other individuals given tasks to ensure the procedures are carried out. For example, if there's a procedure for segregating waste, all workers should try to follow that procedure, right? So look at this simple question here. This is one of the passive questions. Remember, none of these questions is from me, and also um, I take no responsibility for this PowerPoint. This PowerPoint is written by NEBOSH. Normally, I write my own, but the environmental course and one of the risk assessment course NEBOSH have also is written by NEBOSH itself. So whatever we see on this slide, that's NEBOSH's slides anyway, right? So the ISO 14001 Environmental Management System standard is based on a simple idea. Look at this easy question, right? Which best describes the ISO 14001 approach? A, plan, do, check, act. B, complying with environmental legislation. C, meeting the needs of the current generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. No, that is correct. But you see, they didn't ask you what was sustainable development. They asked the ISO model follows a simple idea, right? So this is correct, but that's correct for sustainable development, right? Reducing pollution. Well, true, but they didn't really ask nothing about that. They asked ISO 14001 management system is based on a simple idea, which best describes the ISO 14001 approach, and it is the plan, do, check, act, answer, right? So this one is finished. This is done. And we could have finished last week, but remember the past papers and the little introduction and stuff does take time, right? So we can get into the second PowerPoint. The thing though, I'm not sure if I sent you the second one, but I have it here, right? So if I didn't send you it, I would send you it lunchtime today. I have another class today, but once we have finished 11:30, then right, I could send you that just about 11:30. I guess you could confirm. I don't know if we had, I don't know if I have you registered too, right? Which is
You
also
didn't
here.
send the second
I
PowerPoint.
didn't send the second one. Okay, well, I'll send it to you, all right? It's just a copy, and I'll send it to you all once the class is finished. What you could do, I think everybody here has a book. You could follow through the book, and it's on the slide. You could follow through here anyway. We wouldn't reach half. We wouldn't reach half because it's 10 minutes past 11. So let's go straight into this. Because some of the concept here kind of, it has some stuff to explain, right? Not everything, but the first couple of slides have some stuff to explain. All right, so principles and practices of the impact risk assessment. Yes, this course is good. It does cover EIA's environmental impact assessment. Yes, Nikisia?
Hi, sir. I don't have the book. So is it possible you can send me the slides?
I'll send you both after the class today, yeah. All right?
No problem. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
okay, good. Yeah, I think when I was in Ghana, I sold the last book. And the guy I sold it to, well, not the last one. The last one I had on me, right? I came in a huge suitcase of books and every single book was sold out. I actually sold the one I had to tell you how it was, yeah. All right, so organization need to answer what environmental impact do we have? Let me read a couple of slides and then explain at the end, right? So what effects do you think the power station might be having on the environment? The answer is on the slide, so we could move on a bit. So environmental aspect and impacts, right? ISO 14001 defines an environmental aspect as elements of an organization's activities or products or services that can interact with the environment. Environmental impact can be categorized by their source, pathway, receptor. By making the link source, pathway, receptor, we have an impact. ISO 14,001, still thinking safety. ISO 14,001 defines an environmental impact as any change to the environment, whether adverse or beneficial, wholly or partially resulting from an organization's environmental aspect. The source pathway receptor model shows the power station chimney has potentially a number of different impacts. We could read on because it's on the slide, right? And so let's go on. So local residents could be affected by the smoke and grit. Let me just get this a bit bigger, right? Smoke and grit, which passes up the chimney and into the local atmosphere, and it is then deposited over the surrounding land. The smoke could be a nuisance. Example, dirty deposits on washings and cars or people might suffer health effects if they are susceptible to breathing problems. Example, due to asthma and bronchitis, right? So this is there are a couple of things happening here for exam, right? So as I said, I have some stuff to explain. So I'm trying to get some reading out of the way. There are a couple of things happening here. For exam. So here what I'm gonna pull the marker and try to write it for you. Yeah, Mama tell you some things are popular, right? So one of the things you have to know the difference between what is meant by the environmental aspect. If you want to get right as well too, or when you get a video, when I finish today, I'll put it up on, well, I'll send it to you all individually, right? But you have to know the difference between what is meant by the environmental aspect and what is meant by the environmental impact. So not to go too far, right? Not to go too far in this. Let me tell you something. You may need to kind of memorize the definitions. Part of it anyway. Part of it anyway, right? So let's gonna go back and look at them. So you see, because it's multiple choice, right? So the environmental aspect is, well, I read it over, right? And then I explain. So elements of the organization's activities or products or services that can interact with the environment. So I think you need to learn that, right? Elements of the organization's activities, products, or services that can interact with the environment. Now that's one level of questions, right? That's just an easy memory question, but there's a harder one. I will come to the harder one just now. Let's see what the impact is. The impact, you may need to kind of, memorize this as well. Any change to the environment, whether adverse or beneficial, wholly or partially resulting from the organization's environmental aspect. So the first thing at surface value is that you may want to learn the differences between these two, right? But it's a deeper question, right? The deeper question is, did you understand it? Did you understand what's the difference between them, right? So they could just bring the definitions and say which of the following is true, right? And the environmental aspect is the products and services of the company that interact with the environment. The impact is a change to the environment resulting from the aspect, right? So listen to this a bit. I said there are participles on this. I'll kind of go forward and I'll show you one just now. So there's the surface level questions, like the differences in them. And then there are questions where they will tell you something and they'll ask you what it is. Is it an impact or is it an aspect? I'll say that again. They will tell you something. They will say something like, let me just use a simple one from last week class, right? Like dead fishes on the beach. Is that an aspect or is that an impact? They would say like a pipeline, just making that up, right? So effluent discharge into a waterway or from a factory into a waterway. Is that an aspect or is it an impact, right? So other than the surface value, knowing the differences between the definitions, as I tell you, we would not have gone far because there's some heavy things to discuss here, right? And there is a NEBOSH environmental diploma in environmental management. Every paper that comes to exam, the first question is about the aspect and the impact, right? Anyway, let's try to understand it, right? So you would learn for me the differences by heart. You learn that for heart for exam, but I will do the explanation, right? So a simple way to think of it is that the aspect is the cause. The aspect is the cause or the source, right? That's why they can say the environmental aspect is the products, activities, and services of an organization that can interact with the environment. So the aspect is like the cause or the source, right? And the impact is like the effects. Don't know what happened to that O there, right? SOURCE, right? So the source. So when they give you a statement and they say, is it an impact or an aspect? You have to see, well, is that the source of the thing? And if it's the source of the thing, well, then it's an aspect, right? The impact is like the effects, it's like cause and effects. The cause and effect, right? So the impact is like the cause, what are the cause? The effect, right? As I was saying, cause and effect. So the impact is like the effect. That's why if you read this one, you'll see it's any change to the environment, it's the effect. So it's like cause and effect. But you might stop and think when they give it a statement, if it's a cause or a source or an effect. For example, listen to this one. See if you could figure out this one, right? These are passive questions I'm telling you, right? I just won't have time to pull and show you all, right? So if I say emissions from vehicle or the vehicle emissions, what is that? Is that an aspect or an impact? Vehicle emissions. Make a guess. There's only two answers. There's only aspect or impact. Where would vehicle emissions fall?
Under effect or impact?
Under effect.
Impact,
Under
yeah.
impact? Okay. Vehicle
Yes,
emissions. Vehicle
impact.
emissions. Impact, okay. Anybody else? There's supposed to be a T down here, right? I don't know what happened. Right? T. Anybody else had another thought? So as I tell
It,
it is
it
a
sorry, it could be the aspect of it too, because we talking about the vehicle emissions here. So we know
right.
it's coming from the vehicle itself.
Yeah. So but it could only be one answer for exam though. So it can't be the
I
two.
I know, but as we get in
Yeah.
deep
So the answer is
discussion
going to be aspect. So I don't know
aspect.
if you want to take down because I am remembering past paper questions. Remember they repeat. So if you want, you could take down the example here. Vehicle emissions. If you could track it back to a source then it's the aspect. You understand? Now, if they had said something like how do you, if I want to go to this slide and I'll show you, right? I'm going to try to change the slide. If they had said something like this, right? Like um dirty washing or like grit and dust and smoke and stuff then, right? Getting on your clothes then, right? So like your I mean, I guess if this is if I guess this part of the UK, I guess people still do hang clothes and stuff, right? On clotheslines. But if the clothes get dirty, so if they say dirty washings from ash deposits or something like that, well then that's the effect. You understand? And I guess even my same, let me go back to my car example. If I had said um uh acid rain, just making up some stuff, right? Acid rain from the vehicle emissions causing um water to become acidic. Now that would be an effect, right? So you had to be able to kind of get the difference between and cause and effect is what you have to have in your mind. I wonder if they have one here. You see the time, right? When we started was just after 11. But I tell you, okay, look at have one here, right? Okay, which would constitute an environmental aspect? Take your time, huh? Which of these is an environmental aspect? So you're thinking about which of this is a source? Which of this is creating the pollution there? Which of this is a source? Cause and effect. So is car exhaust emission a source or is it an effect? Ozone depletion, is that a source of something or is ozone depletion the effect of something? Acid rain, you see I was remembering the question and I didn't even remember that this was here, right? Acid rain, is that the source of something or is that as a result of the effect of something? Dead fish in the river, is that is the dead fish the source or the dead fish is the effect? The question is which one is the aspect? Which one is the source? So which one would it be?
A.
E, because I just told you the car exhaust emission, right? But the good news is that they repeat, right? I also saw I told you I saw one here when they said it was like okay, like this same one here. You see this one here? This thing here, right? You see this here? Source, smoke and grit from a coal fired boiler. So then that's the aspect. That's the source. Look at right there. Right? So if they give you, so that's what I say, when I reach this side, I tell you there's a couple of things happening here, and that's why I had to stop. Right? First of all, you have to understand what's the difference between the aspect and the impact. What you tell the aspect is the source. How do I picture this for you all? If you really picture a chimney, is there a chimney picture? Yes, a chimney picture here. So this is the aspect, this is the source. Now, because of this look like nuclear power plants, this could, of course, result in increase in carbon dioxide and stuff to the atmosphere. So this is the source, but the effect could be global warming, right? So the effect could be global warming. I'm not too sure if there's any greenhouse gases there, right? Nuclear power stations do tend to be clean at the same time, clean, right? But as I was saying, there's more than one thing happening here, right? So what they were saying between the source and the impact, you could make like a link then, right? The source pathway receptor model, right? So the source is smoke and grit from the coal fire boiler. The pathway is that is released via chimney into the atmosphere, deposited on the ground. Who are the receptors? Well, local residents, and the impact could be nuisance to the local residents, dirty laundry, dirty washing, and health effects. Now, the same could be applied because this is an environmental cause too. you know, non-humans then, plants and animals, right? So other sources of contamination from the chimney are carbon dioxide, right? So the chimney is the aspect, or the emissions are the aspect. Contributing to climate change is the impact. Sulfur dioxide from the chimney is the aspect. Reacts with water to create acid rain. Sulfur dioxide from a power station in the UK is often detected over the Scandinavian countries. Well, it's kind of close by anyway, right? So you can have a look at this one. They have a source. This is the aspect, right? Smoke, sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, the impact, dirty washing. This is the impact, right? The effect, respiratory problems, declining fish stock, forest dieback, climate change. The receptors could be local residents, local residents. Of course, I did say this is an environmental cause, so the Norwegian salmon, Norwegian trees, global in atmosphere. The pathway, of course, is through the chimney and up to the atmosphere. Let me see if I could probably just do one more thing again. This is another big concept. I don't know if we should stop. Actually, we would not have gotten far, right? But knowing aspect and impact is fundamental to this course then. It's like a basic thing in the course. I think we could stop, right? The cradle to grave concept is not hard, but is another concept, right? Life cycle analysis. I'm thinking about past papers as well, right? I think we could stop because five minutes wouldn't let me complete it then, right? Until next week anyway, right? Not everything is like that. Not everything we have to stop and explain sources of air pollution and stuff. This is quite easy, right? Um, but aspect and impact is a kind of technical question, right? Do you know the difference between the aspect and the impact, right? So what I'll do, let me go get my register. It's in the other room. Or I could just mark you all down. It's just a couple of us, and I'll update the register, right? So I'll just take a note of who was here. And I'll just update the register in the other room, right? So we have let's find a piece of paper as well too. A good piece, in fact. It doesn't have any writing on it. Right. So we have Shalene is here. We
Yes,
have
sir.
Nikia, yeah, Nikia is here. We have Anne Baron. And as soon as this is finished, well, I have processing starting in a bit, right? But when it finished today, I would put it up on the YouTube channel and I will send it across to you all